bloodborne pathogens and body fluids and so forth that we just discussed. And but Barry here, he'll try to get us calmed down. So let's give a warm welcome here for Barry Jennings.
Yep, that would be helpful. Yep.
Now I feel like I'm America's Got Talent. I sit back there listening to all this stuff, the earthquake, tornadoes, bloodborne pathogens, freaked me out. So, how are y'all doing?
Good, good, good.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay. Scares me. So what I'm doing stress management. Okay, I don't believe in stress management. Stress is stress is. What do we know is stress? Something that gets to us, something that bothers us, something that's going to be unexpected. So there's two kinds of stress. One of them is eustress, which is good stress, or that we judge as good stress, and the other one is distress, which we usually call stress, but is stress that we judge that is not comfortable for us. So my question to you is, how do you identify the two? Anybody ride roller coasters?
No.
Okay, what's it like when you sit there and it goes click, 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 click? Hey, that's stress, but we judge it as eustress because it's exciting. We're looking forward to it. Usually I get at the top of the hill and I say one word all the way the rest of the run. It starts with S. But stress is, I don't believe in management, I believe in awareness. Because if we're aware of something, then we can make a plan and we can work the plan. So what do we do when we become aware of something that's bugging us? Like when we become bored, we're stressed. When we become happy or looking exciting and sitting in the movie, we become stressed, but that's eustress. When we become bored, it's distress. So what I'm going to do is more of an experiential thing on how to manage stress, or how to, once you're aware of it, what to do with it. My voice just cracked, didn't it? That's stressful. First off, we got a couple lemons, right?
Yep.
Second thing is, I've got my meat mouth. So, what's happening inside of you? What are you thinking? What am I going to do with this? Am I sling this at somebody or what? Okay, that's stress. What's he going to do? I'm curious. But that's still a form of stress. It's low management. He has lemons. OMG. What's going to happen next? Is this going to be a Gallagher performance or what? Of a sense, yeah. Now what I'd like for you to do is take a note, to sit and take a couple deep breaths that fill your lungs completely, and say, and just breathe and notice where you have tension in your body. Okay? Now notice that. Okay? Still notice it. What's happening now as I'm picking up these two things? So you guys in the front should have brought your garbage bag. All right. What do you notice now?
You got lemon juice?
Where do you notice tension in your body now? Is it the same? Is it different? Or what? Now, as you notice this tension, you become aware of it. Now, what I want you to do is this. I want you to kind of focus on trying to smell the lemons. Okay? Now, as we talk, I want you to notice you focus on the lemons. What happens trying to smell the lemons, try to pick up the aroma. What is happening to your stress, your tension? What is happening to that? It elevates? You don't like lemons? Or you want the salt and the tequila to go with it? Okay. So, as this goes on, you should be able to pick up the aroma of the lemons as time goes on. Now, once you have stress, you're distracted to it. It brings your attention to you, and you focus on it, you focus on it. I'm making this man stressed with the camera because I'm moving around. So as we're doing this, when I came in today, I was thinking, oh my God, I have never talked to a group, and they said 180 people, so we've never talked to a group this big. So what I noticed was this. My stomach got the rumblies in my tumblies, like Winnie the Pooh says, you know. And then I started noticing, what am I going to do? What am I going to present to these folks that are going to be useful to them? So basically, as you become aware of your tension, you focus on that, and things start going into the background. You're thinking, what is this going to happen? What am I going to happen? What's going to happen? So when you start focusing on that, you ramp up the energy. You start running a marathon on a treadmill, which you ain't going nowhere. And if I was going to run a marathon, I would definitely be impatient, for sure. So as we look at the tension, and we're more aware of it, what happens is we focus on stress. We focus on it, we focus on it. Oh my God, I just got a call I got a voicemail from my boss. Am I in deep doo-doo or what? What's going to happen? Oh my God, I got a number here. Look, I don't know the number. Maybe it's a bill collector that I missed or something like this. So you start the slippery slide of what ifs. What ifs, what ifs. And when you focus on stress, it becomes like running downhill when you were a kid, and you got to running so fast you couldn't stop. You were afraid to run any faster, you were going to fall. And you couldn't slow down because you're afraid you're going to fall, and you can only hope it levels out. But these are some tools on how to deal with that distress. Now, one of the things is, I like tunes, tones. Notice the tone. What happens to it?
It fades away.
What? What happened to the tension you were focusing on before? What happened to it? Was it in your mind, or were you focusing on that? Anybody smell the lemons yet? Mm-hmm. So as you look at these things, stress, we create it inside ourselves. We create it. We focus on it, and once we start focusing on something outside of ourselves, we notice that our tension tends to go away because we focus our attention more on something else. One of the things is, I have a story for you. Anybody afraid of dragons? I know the story's in here because I have read it. So now I'm starting to stress because I can't find it. I'm trying to look good and professional in front of everybody. Notice how the stress is going up? So I notice my stress, I make a plan. Okay, so that's why God, one of the secrets of the universe, why God created the index. All right. Now, what I'd like for you to do is sit in your chairs, take a couple deep breaths, have both feet flat on the ground, and just kind of ground yourself. Breathe deeply. Fill your lungs completely. The story is kind of descriptive, so kind of let your imagination go with the flow. Once upon a time, there was a little boy who was very, very rich. And he was so rich that he had a special room. It was a large room just for his toys and treasures. And he would go there every day. Now you would think he would be very, very happy little boy with so very many toys and treasures. but that was not the case. Actually, the little boy was very, very sad because although he had many beautiful toys and many, many treasures, can everybody hear me now? Because he had many, many treasures, there was one thing that spoiled everything for him. Sitting over in the corner of the room, barely visible behind all his other toys, sat a large green dragon. This dragon never seemed to take his eyes off of the boy, so no matter what the little boy was doing, whenever he looked up, there would be the dragon watching him. And this would spoil his fun, because in his heart, he was very, very afraid of the dragon. He would dream that the dragon would rush upon him and throw him down and try to hurt him. And every night the little boy would wake up screaming. And he never would or could explain to anyone about his nightmare because he was afraid that the dragon would get him if he told anyone. And so he felt very, very unhappy. He was so unhappy that sometimes he would dance and play very hard and whirl around and laugh very loudly and talk a blue streak, thinking that it would make him forget about the dragon in the corner. But you know, no matter how loudly he laughed or how hard he played and how fast he danced and whirled and jumped, that whenever he would stop, he would see the dragon staring at him, still looking very, very scary. And his fun would be spoiled again. And this sad state of affairs went on for a long time. Each day the little boy would begin the day playing with his toys, happily trying to forget about the green dragon. And each day he would end sitting quiet and sad with tears running down his face. One day, a friend came to visit the boy. The visitor was another little boy about the same age and size. And the new boy looked around the room with eyes growing wider and wider. And he said, "Oh, what wonderful treasures." And he ran around picking up this one and that one and playing and clapping his hands. But the little rich boy felt very anxious and very worried and very scared. He kept stealing glances at the green dragon. He did not join his friend. And then suddenly, to his horror, he saw his friend run over to the dragon and sit on top of it. And the little boy cried, "No, no, no, don't do that, don't do that." And his friend said, "Why ever not?" And the little boy said, "He is such a fierce and ugly dragon. Surely he will harm me because I know he tries to harm me. And I am so afraid of him." Said his little friend, "Look at this." And he turned the dragon so the little boy could see. And there, down the back of the dragon, was a long, shiny zipper. Well, the little boy didn't know what to make of that. He perched around with his eyes and trembling with fear, and his friend said, "You want to see?" And the little boy said, "No, no, no, I'm not sure, I'm not sure." And his friend said, "Nonsense," and unzipped the dragon. And you know, the whole dragon suit fell down. And what do you think was in there? It was another little boy. The little boy stood up and laughed and said, "I had a good time being a dragon and scaring you and spooking you and making you afraid until I was discovered." And the little boy said, "That was very mean of you." "Why'd you do it?" said the young dragon. "I did it because it was such fun. You had so many treasures that if you hadn't had any dragons among them, how would you know how lucky you are?" And the little boy said, "Nonsense," and stomped his foot and said, "That's nonsense. That was mean of you to pretend to be a dragon all the time and zip yourself up in that dragon suit. And here you are, just another little boy just like me." And the three friends laughed and began playing together. And then they said it was fun. And can you guess what they did next? They took turns zipping themselves into the dragon suits and scaring each other. And pretended to be so very afraid of the dragon. And then the dragon pretended to hurt them and they pretended to hurt the dragon. And then all the time they were laughing and having such fun. At last the little boy clapped his hands and said, "Now we can have fun with all my treasures." And so they did, but the best fun was playing the dragon. And that remained one of their most favorite games. And now the little boy was happy and he played with all his treasures and shared them with his friends. And he loved having new friends. And soon word spread in the countryside about the marvelous treasures. More little boys and girls came because they'd heard of the wonderful treasures and toys. But best of all, they had heard about the dragon suit. And they came to pretend with the dragon and to play the dragon game. And some children asked, "Where can I find a dragon suit for myself?" And then they were told, "Why, you can make one up for yourself." And the little boy said, "I think I understand, because I think I made one up for myself." what I didn't know was that it has a zipper, and the dragon suit can come off. So as we think about things with stress, the purpose of the story was to get you look at things like this. We make what is stressful to ourselves. We create it, we magnify it, we intensify it. So we have, once we're aware of that, then we can take steps to control it. And those steps to control it are based in all our 5 senses. What you can see, taste, smell, touch, feel, is that all? Yeah, that's fine. And so, but you have to be able to focus and do this. Now, for example, what you did just now, what I noticed is when you were watching the other folks before, there was a sense of energy going along through the room. Now there's a different sense of energy. Everybody's focused. How's the tension in your body now? What's changed out of it? So as you do these things, some simple things you can do. When you get stressed out, a lot of folks tend to go smoke. Well, I'm a recovering smoker and I revisit my nicotine habit frequently simply because part of it is an addiction to the nicotine and the other part of it is it helps me focus and get things planned so I can do something different. Sometimes folks turn to alcohol or other substances. Those are not good for you because all they do is increase and ramp up your stress. Because what they do is they create the dopamine in our neurotransmitters. And dopamine is that feel-good thing, like, let me say, it's about like cocaine. Cocaine increases dopamine in your brain, makes it feel good. And so what happens with caffeine, nicotine, alcohol, sometimes folks eat carbohydrates. My thing is, I love kettle-baked chips, man. Just love them to death. But the carbohydrates trigger a dopamine increase in my neurotransmitters, and I feel better. Although then when I step on the scale, I get distressed because I don't feel better because I'm looking at, oh shoot, that 14-ounce bag, that's a 2-pound bag. It lied to me. So we have to be aware that this is what I'm doing. I'm nervous, I'm anxious, I'm distressed. And then this is what I'm going to usually do it. And we step out of that box and do something different. A lot of times we don't have the luxuries of going out and go and run. But we can focus on our senses. What we did here today was this. We're focusing on about 3 senses, okay? First off, the sense of sound, which is my voice. The smell, looking for that smell of the lemons. Focusing and forcing yourself to focus on the story and what's going on. Because this, you have chosen with the zipper from the dragon to be interested in the topic. So when you find yourself distressed, notice what's happening. Like that's my time frame. It's telling me that somebody else is calling me. I should have shut it off, but it was a reminder for my time frame. So as we're looking at this, focus on our senses brings us back to reality outside of ourselves versus the perceived reality inside ourselves. I have a saying from an old philosopher, Winnie the Pooh, because I'm a recovering kids therapist. Sometimes you have something that's inside you seems very thingy. And when you get it outside and have other people looking at it, it doesn't seem so thingy after all. Which is basically what you do when you talk to your friends, going like, my husband, my wife is doing this and that and everything else. And then you go like, yeah, maybe that's not so bad after all. Or maybe that's worse than what I thought it was. So a lot of times we have to refocus our attention. Sometimes we can do that with different sounds. One of the things I use within mental health I have a thing called paperwork. I truly hate paperwork. It is not my friend. And my iPod is on. So anyway, one of the things is to focus on something. Now notice your tension level. What happened there when I turned it off? Somebody's falling asleep. So we could turn to music, but different types of music get us changing and going different ways. When I was a kid, I used to be cruising around and be listening to Beach Boys, and all of a sudden, man, I was punching it and getting a speeding ticket because I tended to go faster. You know, if you listen to certain type of music, it drives your brain, changes your brain waves, which reduce or increase the amount of stress you have. Part of one of the things I encourage you to find a song that kind of takes you away from things. One of the things that I use in my head in my Happy Place song is the theme song from MASH. Ironically, it's called Suicide is Painless. But I like the show MASH. I like the way it explored absurdities. And it kind of has a flowing rhythm to it that the singer had. So when you find yourself distressed, the first thing is important to do is come outside of your head. The second thing is realizing that you're distressed, come outside of your head, make a plan, and then work the plan to get that, to relieve that stress and to focus on getting something done. Because then you're focusing not on what's happening in here, but what you can do outside. So, does anyone have any questions? I mean, because I know right now, you're probably getting ready to go eat. And usually when I go to meetings like this, I end up getting bored and everything else, so. And I think I'm just about, I have to check my time. I have a couple more minutes. So how do you have any questions about stress? Do you notice how the tension and the energy changed in you when I said, do you have any more questions? We're about done. Everybody started talking. You got some, that in essence was eustress because, man, I am glad he is done. And then when I said I had some more time to kill, then what happened is you went, oh. Were you aware of that? Is that pretty accurate? You know? So notice what things are going on. Well, I want to hear the joke. Now, a couple things you can do. When you are feeling bummed out, you can change the chemistry in your brain. You know? You can change the chemistry of your brain by using chemicals, caffeine, nicotine, alcohol, other illicit drugs. You can change the chemicals in your brain by laughing, because laughing increases endorphin or dopamine in the brain, and it also releases energy that the stress is brought up. You know. Then you have you can laugh. You can exercise, which creates dopamine. Okay.
As you can tell, I just do mine laughing.
Were you guys distressed back there because you couldn't hear me? So anyway, or, I mean, you can change the chemical in your brain by laughing, eating, doing something, drugs, sex. Changes chemicals in your brain, something fierce. Trust me. So, do you have any questions? I've kind of covered a lot. I really didn't hit what really stress management, but just being aware of it does a lot to eliminate the problems that it causes.